Hey, this is Nate Carver, your favorite mortgage guy on Between Two Doors, and today we are talking to Nick Nevares out of Crestone, Colorado. Hey, I'm Nate Carver, and welcome to Between Two Doors. Nick, how are you doing today?
Oh, pretty good. It's a nice sunny day here in Colorado for early March.
Yeah, early March. Any snow out the window?
We actually just got about 6 inches of snow yesterday, and it's been in the 50s today, so it all melted. Uh,
Oh,
that's
gorgeous
that's
weather.
that's springtime in the Rockies. It's like snow in the morning, sunshine during the day, cold at night, and then repeat.
Oh, wow. Hey, yesterday we had all in one day, we had straight line winds, sandstorm, rainstorm, tornado, and then gorgeous weather. It was
Yeah.
it was bizarre. So, well, hey, so tell me a little bit about yourself. How
Sure.
long ago did you get into real estate? And tell me why. What drew you to it?
So we'll go back a little farther. So in a past life, I was an event producer and festival producer in New Orleans for over a
Oh,
decade.
nice.
I was working on projects from 100 to 20,000, and was the point person and organizer for huge festivals for a number of years, and traveled with the NFL and NBA for the Super Bowl and for the NBA All-Star Game and stuff like that. Um, I Towards the end of my career, I got really burnt out and really just wanted to find something a little bit more meaningful. So I left New Orleans. I became an energy healer. I became a Reiki practitioner and spent a year and plus on the road doing energy healings at soup kitchens and homeless shelters. Um, and what I would do is I'd like cook dinner in my RV and then go to like a Walmart or Target. They're always like homeless people kind of hanging around the parking lots. And I'd just feed them. And I'd ask them if, they were hungry. And I'd feed them whatever leftovers I had from eating that day and night. And one day I was in a parking lot in Durango, Colorado. And this homeless guy was really out of it. He was like schizophrenic. He was like just out of his body. And I was like, "Hey, you hungry?" And he was like, "Yeah." And so he came into my RV. I fed him, and he was just kind of like this. And suddenly he was like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "Go to Crestone. You belong in Crestone." And then he went back out of his body. I was like, "Whoa, that was crazy." And I looked it
Uh,
up, and it's a neat little town. It's small, but it's a place where over 20 religious organizations from around the world were invited and continue to be invited to settle as a place to contain and maintain history. In part, years ago, over 40 years ago, this neighborhood in particular was designed by a group of UN delegates as a safe haven for high-ranking military personnel and government officials to kind of like live out the end of the world. And
mm,
so they created redundant infrastructure and did all this like systems here that insulated us from the rest of the world. And in doing so, they actually spent way more money than they were anticipating, went bankrupt. And the main investor, he bought the remaining acreage and for many years gave away 100-acre parcels to religious organizations from around the world. Again, as a preservation, as a way of preserving those traditions. And
hmm
so we have the Dalai Lama has a group up here. There are many different Tibetan Buddhist traditions up here. There's a few Hindu ashrams up here, as well as a group that I'm a part of called Shumei, which is based in ancient Japanese Shinto. Um, and so, anyways, I was a world religions major in college. So when I looked up, this place, I was like, oh wow, there's all these religious places here. That's cool. And so I got here. It's so cool. It's like, because these religious teachers from around the world come here and
Yeah.
hold ceremony. They'll come from the Himalayas with an entourage. You feel like you're, in a National Geographic special when you're suddenly surrounded
Wow.
by Buddhist monks chanting, in Tibet. And it's really, really cool. But anyways, I came here and didn't really know what I was going to do. I just knew I didn't want to do what I was doing because I was working for a super elite and super wealthy and really just wasn't appreciated. And I wanted to make more of a difference. So I started, just looking for a job in town. I became the town newspaper ad manager, and I became the town code enforcer. And there's also a little church in town that would cook like a meal every Saturday for whoever needed it, you know. And honestly, the food was pretty bad. And I started cooking for them and took it over as I tend to do. I'm a pretty decent cook if I do say so myself. So, what first was like 20 people turned into 40 and then 60 and then 100 and then 200. And so during that time, an area realtor, she approached me and was like, "Hey, do you want to be a realtor? You make a really good realtor."
Nice.
And so I quadrupled her business, and then I started my own company. So and that was about 6 years ago.
6 years ago. Wow. So when you picked up your license was 6 years ago? Wow, good for you. She picked a winner. So
Yeah.
you went from religious major to a community that is religiously and culturally diverse.
Yeah. Yeah. Very.
And wow, that is fascinating. So do you still do like food bank kind of ministry?
Yeah, so in homage to what I used, where I came from, I try
uh,
to cook what we call free meals 3 times a year for the community. So I'll organize 20 to 40 people cooking for a couple days, and we'll feed about 300 people. And
oh
so
wow.
I do it with a couple of community organizations here, and we'll just all get together, figure out the menu. The county commissioners, they give me a grant for it. Um, and I'm able to feed 300 people with about $1,000. And it's great
Uh,
because you have the mayor sitting next to a homeless person with no shoes, right? And everybody's talking and eating. We have bands come and play for free. It's really cool. It's really, really
I
neat.
love,
Yeah.
I love it. I got a connection there. There's a friend of mine that does a ministry outreach to homeless.
Mhm.
And I've gone so I can throw a cast net out at the beach really, really good. And
Oh, cool. Nice.
went and caught a whole bunch of fresh fish, had a fish fry, and
Whoa, cool.
he would do haircuts
Oh,
and
nice.
and help them get cleaned up and
Yeah,
try to identify how individually we can help them, and then
yeah.
you know between haircuts and dinner, it would be a weekend event. So good to
Nice.
you. Good. I love hearing that, and
Yeah.
that you're that's
Well, and
awesome.
it's great because it's like, it's not just for homeless, right? It's for everybody, and it's a potluck,
Oh
and
yeah.
everyone comes and just hangs out. We also do so I do 3 of those, and then I do a fourth one that's been a tradition here before I got here. And it's a community Thanksgiving, and we'll feed
Hmm.
around 600 or 700 people as
Uh,
in potluck style. But I help coordinate it and get like 30 to 40 turkeys cooked, and then everyone else brings everything else, and it's a whole afternoon of Thanksgiving potluck.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Lots of people there too. Good
yeah.
on a good day. Awesome. Wow. Hey, so in your community, 6 years on, what are things that you love about Crestone that maybe we hadn't touched on, that are an appeal or that you love to showcase when people are like, "Hey, I'm moving to Crestone." You're like, "Great, let me tell you about this place. What do you in that area? What are
Well,
you what's
first of
going
all, I
on?"
usually tell them to go to my website, www.mountainsiderealty.com. I have a pretty profuse area on there that kind of details some of the community organizations and ways that you can get involved and things like that. It's actually was through the census was determined that it was one of the had the highest per capita advanced degrees in Colorado, and as for a small town. So there's a lot of really smart, cool people here, um, and a lot of just amazing things going on. I have clients who have moved here over the years, and even new ones who like sometimes I encourage people to come and stay and check it out for a couple months before they decide to move here if they have never been here because it is unique. We're up against the side of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. But we're like, an hour from a major grocery store. We're an hour from most restaurants. We're pretty remote. So that's not for everyone. I grew up in Houston and lived in New Orleans for 18 years. And city life is very different from the very quiet existence of rural Colorado.
Yeah.
Not for everyone. But I feel like living here, you can really get to know yourself better and really get to become the best version of yourself, in my opinion, by that quiet. And the religious organizations here are really very unique. The one that the Dalai Lama's group here called the Center for Contemplative Research is pretty cool. It's a group that's focused on understanding the physiology of the human body as in meditative state. So people they bring monks in from around the world, and as they are meditating, they study them with different tools and see how their body and how their energy is actually changing in a measurable way. Um,
Oh,
it's really, really cool. Um, and anyways, I can actually go on all day about that. But yeah, I'd say that the community is pretty cool. The people are really, I've been really blessed to find a place that you can talk to people without them being on their phone, right? You
oh,
go into a restaurant and no one's on their phone. Everyone's talking to each other.
uh,
It's like you stepped into a alternate universe where phones don't exist. It's the coolest thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
That's that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I know where I'm going next. Yeah. Look at me. I'm talking to you. Anyway. Yeah, yuck, the phones. We gotta have them, but then we
Yeah.
haven't figured out how to live with them yet.
Yeah,
Uh,
right. I mean, yeah, I wish I didn't have mine attached to my hip all the time, but it's the way that I work, so it is what it is.
yeah. Hey, do you find yourself dealing maybe on averages first time home buyers versus seasoned buyers that know what they're doing? Do you see a difference there? And if you could give some advice, if you wish they knew this, what would it be about buying a home or selling a home?
Sure. Okay, we'll start with buying. I was a first-time home buyer once upon a time, as were you, right?
Yeah.
And, I really encourage people to understand what programs are out there. In Colorado, we have an organization called CHAFA, which is the Colorado Fair Housing Authority, right? And
Yeah.
they have grants for first-time home
Yep.
buyers. And all you got to do is like watch a little class, right? Answer some questions on home ownership, and boom, you got like what, $10,000 in grant money
Right.
right there, right? Um, and things like that that really make it advantageous and easier for a first-time home buyer to access a house. The other thing I always say is like everyone always wants to think they know everything, right? But when
Mhm.
it comes to a house, unless you are a builder, and even if you're a builder, you don't know anything about that house until you really meticulously pick it apart with an inspection, right? And so,
Right.
especially here, so I live in a really unique area. So the county that I'm in, Saguache County, is the size, I believe it's the size of Maine, and we only have about 6 or 7 thousand people in the whole county. But we also don't have building codes. And so the Crestone, in particular, has been a place where people have been able to build their own houses for decades and build without building codes. So they've been able to build what are called earth ships. They've been able to
Hmm.
build straw bale houses or hempcrete houses or, really avant-garde and energy efficient building materials, but they're also less expensive than traditional building methods, right? However,
Right.
because they're building it themselves, and oftentimes it's like trial and error sort of thing. It's like, oh, that didn't work. My wall fell down, right? You just don't know what's in the walls until you take it apart with an inspection. So it's always really important for buyers to get a thorough inspection and not cheap out on their inspection, you know?
Yeah.
Um, Whereas, with sellers, what I tell them is like, this is a unique market. It's not everybody is, rushing to come to the middle of nowhere in Colorado. So to have patience. But also that, this valley was the San Luis Valley that we're in was known as the Bloodless Valley by 7 Native American tribes that would come here from as far away as Canada to train and do ceremony and hunt, but they knew never to fight here because they believed it was very sacred. And that's why
Mm.
they called it the Bloodless Valley. And as a result, the oh shoot, I forget where I was going with that. Sorry. Oh, it's not for everyone. The temperature difference here can vary wildly. The energy here is very intense. And so this land is really sacred. And I've found that no matter what you do, and I
Hmm.
don't care if you drop the price by half, unless the land is ready to be sold and chooses what buyer it wants, you have no control over it. So
Wow.
it's like, I tell it's a lesson in letting go and just, I will always do our best to get, to do the best job for our sellers, but also to some degree it's out of our hands. So
Right.
I tell people to just be patient and it'll happen when it's supposed to happen.
That is so interesting because you telling me about all the different religions that are there,
Mhm.
and then you wonder why that is, and then you tell me this story, hundreds or thousands of years ago of the Indians, and this was sacred to them and in their religions, and that's a theme throughout history. So in another life, I was an archaeologist, and and we would go dig in the Middle East, and we would
Oh,
uncover a religious building, a temple, a mosque, and then discover underneath it another religious from a different era, and then there would be one underneath it, and just
yeah.
going back. I mean, I don't know how far you could go back, but
Yeah, these are like
thousands.
energy centers, right? They're like places
Yeah,
where people just know that you are
this
supposed to really.
spot's sacred. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
yeah, that's so
Well, and
cool.
so speaking of the building code thing, right?
Mhm.
So because there has been for over 40 years, this ability to build your own houses without building codes and kind of like do it yourself sort of thing. Um, there was an event 35 years ago created here called the Crestone Energy Fair. And it was originally designed to educate and empower future owner builders on how to build their homes from people who had already done it, right? And so it was
Okay.
a showcase of different technologies. And over the years, it has evolved to include to go beyond just building. And now it's like high altitude and desert agriculture and gardening, as well as alternative energy generation, things like that. Um,
Hmm.
so I'm the producer of it. I've been doing that now for 7 years. And so I was able to bring my expertise in events and festival production to it. And so now it's a pretty big deal. It's the longest running sustainability fair in the country. We have thousands of people who come here in September to experience hands-on building demonstrations of like six to 10 different building modalities. We have home tours that you can actually go into homes that are both under construction and on and already completed and talk to the homeowners and understand what their experience was both building the house and living in the house and how it differs from just a traditional built house.
Hmm.
Because a lot of these natural builds, they don't ever off gas. So, there's a small subsection of this world that are very sensitive to chemicals. They walk into a home that's new and they immediately pass out or have a headache or something like that, and they can't stand it because the off gassing of the paint and the walls and the formaldehyde and the insulation is all creating a toxic environment for that they're more sensitive to than most
Yeah.
people. And so a lot of these natural builds are really cool because they, being built with natural materials, they don't have that same issue. They're able to walk right in the moment after it's built and they can breathe no problem. Um,
Wow.
and so you have, we have building demonstrations, we have home tours, and then we have talks from people who are, on the forefront of building technologies as well as energy generation and agriculture, talking on our main stage throughout the weekend, as well as an entire area devoted to healing arts and alternative methods of healing. And also, so then we have speakers on that as well. So last year we had a gentleman named Lloyd Kahn, who was named the father of DIY by the New York Times. He was our keynote speaker, and
Mhm.
he came and talked about his experience with alternative building over the last 60 years.
So I think I know the answer to this, but as a
Yeah,
lender, I want to ask,
yeah,
um, hopefully to the benefit of everybody that listens to this, on these natural builds,
yeah.
um, are you seeing the buyers have challenge? Are y'all seeing challenges with lenders on the natural builds?
Nope.
Because of good inspection, right?
Good inspection, appraisal, there's
Yep.
comparables. At this point, enough has
Yep.
sold here that we can find comparables for pretty much every building type. Um, and they're really well done. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
yeah, there's some really, really spectacular houses that are built of alternative building technologies. I just built a 900 square foot addition onto my house out of hempcrete, which is really awesome. Hempcrete is made from hemp, right?
Yeah.
Um, and except it doesn't off gas. It doesn't. It's rodent proof and mold proof and waterproof. And it as it cures, it turns into limestone, so it's harder than cement. It's
Whoa.
really cool substance. So and it's like super insulative and super quiet. So
Wow.
yeah, it's neat.
Well, I've definitely learned something. Hey, any along that line, any crazy fun stories that you've or experienced so far in the last 6 years?
Oh wow. This is a pretty wacky little town. It's just full of fun characters and the houses are as unique as the people. The
Oh,
houses are because you're not dealing with cookie cutter houses, you're not dealing with large developments. Every house is completely unique. And having walking into a house that was designed, being in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, it's cold here, right? And if you don't build your house with windows to the south, where you're getting a lot of passive solar gain that's just
mhm.
naturally heating your house, your electric bill is, or your heating bill, whatever you're heating with, whether it be gas or wood or electricity, is very high. So walking into houses that are built correctly with huge windows to the south really is just every time I do it, I'm just like, oh, this is so good because it's amazing. You almost don't even have to heat the house. It's already done for
Right.
you. Done, you know. And just seeing the different styles of architecture and because everyone wants to build their own weird house, right? And just seeing what that means for everyone and what was most important for each individual is pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
That's fat. That's cool. Go to everybody, everybody go to Crestone. Uh, I'm in an area right now where there's new construction everywhere, and it all looks the same.
Yeah, right, right.
So,
Yeah,
like, good for you. Let's see. Our time's almost up. So let me ask you this, because I'm going to tell everybody go to your website and
yeah,
link through to see the natural builds of Crestone.
yep.
Nick, what is the best way for anybody to get a hold of you if they're looking to buy or sell a home?
Sure. Like I said, the website's usually the best place to start your search. You can understand the community and stuff like that. I don't just service Crestone. I serve most of the San Luis Valley in Colorado. So that includes the towns of Saguache, Moffett, and Alamosa, places like that. So my website, mountainsiderealty.com, is the best place to start. My office phone number is 719-256-4444. And then, I have an office in town, so that's always a good place to also stop in and say hello. Um, the energy fair that I was referencing, our website is crestoneenergyfair.org, and that's
Nice.
those dates are September 11th through 14th of this year. That's a really cool time to come and see what the best of what the town has to offer, because there's some really extraordinary people who live here and who work here and who have knowledge here. And to access that all in one place is really spectacular. So that's something, if you're interested in natural building, we also have a what's called a continuing education series. So throughout the year, we have more deep dive classes that go into, I think this year we're going to be doing natural plaster. We're going to be building, actually at my house, we're going to be building walls made of scoria. So it's lava rock filled earth bags that we're going to
Oh,
turn into the foundation and into the walls of a greenhouse at my house.
oh,
And then we're going to be also doing permaculture. There'll be a permaculture expert who will show people how to turn desert environment into living soil and growing trees and all that type of stuff in this type of environment. So really cool stuff, and applicable everywhere, not just here.
yeah.
Yeah. So
I love it. I love it. There you have it, folks. I got a lot of new information. I love this. I know I want to go there. This was such a unique conversation, and
yeah,
I really thank you, Nick, for sharing.
yeah, you're welcome.
Um, wow, amazing views of Colorado and unique homes. Uh, get a hold of Nick. I'm going to have all of your contact information
Okay, great.
and into the energy fair as well. I'll get that included. And
Cool.
thanks again, Nick. I appreciate
You're
your
welcome.
time.
Absolutely. Have a great day.